And you're watching Devil in Divorce. I'm Karyn Turk. This is my co-host, attorney Joe Costello, and we're here today at the beautiful Riverside Hotel on Las Olas with Rhoda Sokoloff, who's here going to be talking to us about paternity. And when you're not married, what happens?
Well, this is really what happens when you have a child out of wedlock. Basically, a lot of fathers don't know, but they have zero rights to that child. And the mother can do whatever she wants. If the mother wants to relocate to another state, she can go. Even if the father is on the birth certificate, that's not enough. You need a court order that says he's the biological father to have any rights. Now, that doesn't mean you don't have to pay child support. You still have to pay child support, but a father would have to file a petition to establish paternity, time sharing, and child support with the court. And you need a court order that says he is a biological father. And after that, it's just like as though they were married. They have the equal rights to the child.
And we live in such a society now where there's so many people who are having kids who aren't married. You know, how much of this do you see in your practice?
We see it a lot. Rhoda and I have gone toe-to-toe more than a couple of times. And what a lot of people don't realize is as family law practitioners, about half of what we handle, or a good portion of what we handle, are paternity cases.
Wow.
It's children born out of wedlock, where the court needs to establish the same things that would be established in a divorce when it comes to children. Time sharing, child support, health insurance, those types of things. But the first step in that process is establishing paternity, getting a court order adjudicating that person to be the child or the children's natural and biological father. You'd think that would be the easy part, right? It's not.
It's not.
Yeah, what you'll see oftentimes is there's a holdup in that process, or some people will wait until the end to get that answer, which leaves the child or the children, the father, in limbo during the case. So while the father's being hit with obligations along the way, child support, a requirement to provide health insurance coverage, there's and daycare expense. That's something else that gets factored into child support, as Rhoda knows. What you'll find is this kind of lag period where there's some uncertainty while certain obligations are being imposed.
And what's bad is sometimes it can really be stretched out, and the wheels of justice are very slow.
They're slow.
So it could take 2 years, you know, to finish up a case, a paternity case. And in that instance, the father is not seeing his child.
What do you attribute that to, Rhoda? What do you attribute
Wait, so how often do you think that it happens that the father's not seeing his child? How many of these situations are contentious? Like, what's the percentage?
It's high.
It's high.
It's interesting.
High.
I find paternity cases, and I don't know if you've had the same experience, Rhoda, I find paternity cases even more combative than divorces, because in a divorce, more often than not, there was some degree of love. There was a relationship. We had children together during our marriage. There was property that needs to be divvied up. The issues concerning the children are just one part of the puzzle. In a paternity case, more often than not, you have people that either didn't really have much in the way of a relationship, or it was somewhat of a short-term relationship. You don't have that emotional pull.
Correct.
And what you're going to find is a lot more conflict. And Rhoda's right. Sometimes this can take up to 2 years.
That's crazy.
What do you attribute that to, though, as far as the time period?
I think that it could be the attorneys, or they might be pro se, which means that they don't have a lawyer. They're representing themselves. If
Right.
they're representing themselves, they don't really know their way around the courts to get hearings, or else there might be a hearing and one party might not show up.
So that brings up a very interesting question. If you have somebody who's not married, you know, and they're going through the situation and they find out their girlfriend's pregnant, I mean, what should they do? Should they hire an attorney right away? Would that be the best course of action for them to make sure that they're protecting their rights?
You cannot hire, you don't need an attorney until the child is born. So once the child is born, absolutely, I believe that the father should file to establish paternity. But there's something else that's really important a lot of fathers don't know. There's something called the putative, P-U-T-A-T-I-V-E.
It's a fancy word.
No, I forgot.
That's a mouthful.
That's a whole lot.
The Putative Father Registry, and it's in Tallahassee.
Okay.
And every father should look it up online and register, fill out an application. And the reason for that is, if a mother has a child out of wedlock, and let's say she wants to give that child up for adoption, the father has no say unless he registers with the Putative Father Registry.
So if he registers, even before he's established in paternity as the father, he's registered to this site. So he has some rights or something going out of the gate?
Well, he has rights as far as the mother cannot give up the child for adoption. So let's say she tries to put the child up for adoption. The adoption agency would research and see, oh, there's a father, so they have to give him notification. And if he's not agreeable, the adoption's not going to take place.
She's
For most
right.
Oh,
She's
wow.
right. She's right, Karen. What it does is it essentially provides somewhat of a notice requirement.
Exactly.
Okay.
Whereas without any parental rights, as a father, you don't get that privilege. You don't get that right, I guess is a better way of putting it. You don't get that notice. So by doing that, you're putting the mother and the state on notice that, hey, listen, I have some interest in this child. I believe I'm the father. But Rhoda's right. The first thing you should do, if there's any debate or chance that it's your child, as a father, you should go file paternity action. Stuff like this, I wouldn't recommend you do it pro se, although I recognize financial ability is an issue, and
Right.
we're going to get into that.
And isn't there
more.
some sort of like a self-service center as well? If there was somebody, couldn't they go and kind of, help themselves to some information as far as the courts are concerned, if they have to be pro se, if they can't afford to get a lawyer?
Here's the problem with that. You're kind of floundering at that point. Like
Right.
anything, you ever read stereo instructions or installation instructions? If you're not an engineer or somebody that has experience in that realm, you're going to read it.
You need a professional.
have no idea.
Right.
But look, there are self-help forms. Anybody can go to the courthouse in the county they live, get the appropriate forms, check the appropriate boxes, file them, pay that filing fee. But at that point, you're on your own.
And there's
And there's
nobody
something
to
else
oversee
that.
it.
It's something else to what Joe is saying. Because let's say they go, you can go to the courthouse and you can go to the clerk's office and you can get these forms. The clerk cannot give you any legal advice
Right.
on how to fill them out.
So you're pretty much
kind of
on your own.
Some people go to paralegals, but the paralegals can do so much. They can help you fill out the forms.
they're not a lawyer.
They're not a lawyer and they can't give legal advice.
So the number one tip is to go to this website and register with the state of Florida in Tallahassee. So you're on that registry. So any fathers out there that are looking for advice,
Yes.
that would be your number one piece. And we'll have that number up there for all of our viewers.
Yeah.
Rhoda, thank you so much for coming on today and talking to us about this hot topic, paternity rights, single parenthood, really important things for our viewers.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure.
It's good to see you again, Rhoda. I'll see you in the courthouse.
Yes, I will.
There you go. Stay
Thank
tuned.
you.
You're watching Devil in Divorce.